Hi everyone. So today I'm going to walk you through your second discussion of your family tech think tank. So in the first discussion, you talked about the why and the how of using screens. You talked about the pluses and the minuses of using technology. And now you're going to start actually developing or forming a family technology plan together. And so you'll be talking about the where, the when, and the what of your screen use. And so what we did is we started with a fun little activity with the kids, and we split the kids up into two teams, and all families are different, so you just have to decide what works for you. We have a larger family, so we put older kids with younger kids and kind of mixed it up. If you only have one or two kids, you can always put a parent on a team or have one parent and one child. The important thing is that at least one parent knows what's going on, and if another parent is on the team, then you don't want to let them know what the details are, because you're going to give them two sets of instructions. So one team will get this and the other team will get this. So as you can see, it's kind of building the same framework, the same shape, but this team has basically the whole outline or the instructions, and this team kind of has a vague set of instructions. So you give each team a minute to try to complete the shape, and they are using either, you can use some Duplo Legos or Post-it notes even work, or you can even cut out pieces of paper to just make these shapes, just whatever is most simple. And basically what will happen is you'll have one team that will finish more quickly than the other, and in our experience, we've done this a couple of times, it was always the team that had the full set of instructions, which is the idea. And so what we did is we used this as a conversation starter to talk about how much better things go when we have a plan. With this in mind, we asked our kids some questions like, why is it important to have a plan? How does having a plan help us? How can we apply this idea to technology and screen time? And why might it be important to have a family technology plan? And there are a lot of reasons, and what's great about this is that your family can decide why it's important for you. But one of the reasons that we came up with is so that our kids, so if the parents have something in their mind on how kids should be using screens, and kids have a different idea in their mind of what's appropriate, then we're always going to have conflict because no one's on the same page. And so that's a good reason for having a plan, so that kids aren't getting in trouble and parents aren't nagging and getting mad, because then you just have this feeling of conflict in your home, which is never fun, and that's not our goal, right, as parents. So we talked about that, and we said, how can we create healthy boundaries with technology so we can be sure to use it as a tool? And so then we got into the details of where, when, and what. And I really loved using this framework to decide how we're going to use technology. And so you can see, like, we've actually had this discussion twice, and our notes are not perfect. This is a process for sure. And so we first kind of talked about having a screen-free zone, places where we weren't going to use electronics. So that's when we talked about the where, like where in our house should we use devices. And we just mentioned keeping in mind that the things that we wrote on the thumbs down list might be more likely to happen if we are using devices in private parts of the home, like in a bathroom or in a bedroom. We also talked about what will our rules be for when we're in the car. And what about when we're at friends' houses or we're at school or other public places? And then we talked about when. So what are some times of the day when we should focus on each other and not on our electronics? Are there certain days or weeks when we could take a break from technology and focus on each other or friends and extended family? And how about certain times of the year? And so this is great because each family has their own culture, their own values, their own priorities. And so you can kind of decide what works best for your family. And then what? The last thing is what? What are some of your favorite places to visit online, or games that you like to play? And the kids love this part because then they can make this big list of things that they like to do. And that kind of keeps things positive because there are things that I like to do online. And so this is a chance for the parents to share things that they like to do. And I can tell the kids, oh, I love that I can take a course from someone who lives in another part of the country and learn from them. And that's something I really love. I love podcasts. And so I think it's important for our kids, if you do love parts about technology, to share that with your kids, and you're kind of joining in the enthusiasm there. And then what are other great ways to use our devices that will benefit ourselves and others? This was one of my favorite questions because I feel like it just can be so easy to focus on the negative, but how can we even serve and help other people through technology? Now, our list is a little hard to see because my daughter wrote it kind of small. This was actually phase 2. So we had a phase 1. We talked about it probably 6 months ago, and then we went through and had this conversation again just a couple of weeks ago. And so we had gone through and kind of typed this up, and now we're going through and typing it up again. So as you can see, it's a process. You kind of learn what works and what doesn't. But we just divided this up into where, when, and what, just like I said, and your kids can write this down. And then after you do this, you can have one of the kids write it or type it up, or you can, and then just leave it out somewhere where everybody can see it, and then treat it as an experiment. So like what's working and what isn't going to work. And then something that I've learned from a lot of great other people is to always establish some next actions. So you're going to set a next action, what thing you're going to work on for the next week or two. What changes are you going to make? So here are some that we concluded were our next actions after this conversation. We were going to avoid screens as much as possible when we're just driving around town and together. So that carpool time or time when we're taking someone to dance class or to volleyball, then that's a time for conversation. Car time is conversation. And then our exception is when we go on long road trips, like over a couple of hours, then we definitely might watch movies together or do other things. We committed as a group, together as a family, to leave devices out of bedrooms and out of bathrooms, and that includes the parents. And so we set that like 6 months ago or maybe even longer. So when we came back and had this discussion the second time, then I was able to tell the kids how it's helped me. So I actually sleep so much better because I'm not on my phone right before I go to bed. I feel like I have better conversations with Tyler at night because we're not distracted by our devices. So many benefits that I've received from following this. And so then it was great when we came back together and had this discussion again to tell the kids how it's helped me. And so we've been really strict about that. And then we also limited our use 1 day a week. So for us, that's Sunday. It could be whatever day you choose. And it doesn't mean that we don't use technology at all on Sunday, because we love to FaceTime our grandparents and our cousins. And there's a lot of, great uplifting videos that we can watch on Sunday. But you might have another day a week. Just kind of picking a day when you're taking a little break is a great way to go. We've loved that. Taking a break during family vacations. So I'm the only one that uses social media in our house, but I like to take a break from that quite a bit during the summer. This last summer, I really didn't spend a lot of time on social media. And then also, especially on family vacations. And then one interesting thing that came up between our first conversation and our last was the fact that we had friends come over and they would take their screens into the bedroom, which we hadn't even thought of when we had the first conversation. And so when we went to phase 2 and we talked about it again, we said, what should we do when our friends come over and they are on their phone in the bedroom? So we just talked about how we can politely invite them to plug it into our family charging station. And we found that friends that come over repeatedly just know now that that's the rule in our house. And we've talked about how true friends are usually willing to follow the family rules. And we found that to be true. So you might not want to follow any of these rules. Your family might come up with a completely different set of parameters and boundaries, and that's great. So that's the idea, is that you get to pick and you let your kids have a voice in this. So again, I'm here to help and support you. And if you have watched this whole thing, I am willing to send you this discussion number 2. I have it all typed out and written. I am working on a course to be able to sell and share, but this is kind of the process. It's just experimenting. So just email me back and just say, I'd love the second discussion, send it to me, or just even write send, and now I will know to send it your way, and I hope it helps.